The story starts here in the heart of the city. We've been following the story since it first broke.
Everyone is waiting to find out what's next.
It's an issue for residents here and around Boston.
The city is buzzing.
You saw it here on SU News.
Exclusive details you'll only see here.
And now we're getting the answers.
It's the talk of the town.
It's all coming up on SU News.
First on SU News, a bold break-in at a bank in Somerville. Police say the suspect opened fire and ran off. Thanks for joining us. I'm Julia Donovan.
And I'm Joe Cassell. The robbery happened early Wednesday at Davis Square, and now police are trying to catch that robber on the run.
Oh, I was afraid to get, nobody wants to get killed like that.
Frantic moments as a man describes his encounter with an armed robber at this bank in Somerville.
So he entered the door. There are two doors here, outside and another one inside. In the door I saw him just with a gun, stand up or up, whatever. Throw up in the air.
Streets were closed off as police investigated. Authorities blocking off the bank with police tape, bringing in the firepower, and calling in the dogs. It was this man who entered Middlesex Federal Savings and fired at the ceiling, attempting to rob the bank. Borges immediately ran out and contacted police. One officer ran inside and exchanged gunfire with the robber. He wasn't hurt, but the robber was able to escape on foot, and he's still at large.
I'm glad everybody's cooperating, and the Somerville Police, the feds, and the state all working together simultaneously. If he's under a porch or in a garage or somewhere hiding, but it's only a matter of time. Give it up.
And the coverage continues. In the midst of all of this on Wednesday, a man walking home from work is being hailed a hero after he tried to stop the suspect, and it was all caught on camera. The so-called hero's name is David Powers. He told investigators he saw police chasing the suspect on College Avenue, so in a split second he decided to do this. Powers body checks the alleged bank robber, forcing a giant bag full of money and a gun from his grip. Powers told police he had enough time to react, so he did just that. And police say the suspect was running fast. Another angle of surveillance video shows him sprinting by a barber shop before Powers was able to deck him. Police say while the suspect wasn't stopped, he was slowed down, and they say the courageous act may have saved lives. This week, the Massachusetts Gaming Commission ruled that Wynn Resorts will retain its gaming license, but at a high cost. Christina Matos Osorio is in the studio with the latest.
Encore Boston Harbor will continue to open its doors next month after the Massachusetts Gaming Commission fined Wynn Resorts $35 million. The Gaming Commission allowed Wynn Resorts to keep its state casino license and open their Boston area resort location after executives failed to disclose years of sexual misconduct allegations against company founder Steve Wynn. There's also a $500,000 fine for current CEO Matthew Maddox for not disclosing misconduct complaints involving Wynn. The Massachusetts Gaming Commission released a statement saying they acknowledge that the company has introduced a multitude of policy and organizational changes to address employee safety. It also states that the changes to the company's philosophy, training, and operations show a newfound commitment and focus on all levels of employees. They concluded by saying Wynn is likely to be a successful operator in Everett. The Gaming Commission constructed 54 pages of findings and conditions for the company to follow. The Encore Boston Harbor Resort in Everett is also set to open June 23rd. For SU News, I'm Christina Matos Osorio.
Boston confirming that some students have been diagnosed with the mumps. Sean Cushing is outside Otis Elementary with the details.
This past Friday, school officials confirmed that a third-grade student at Otis Elementary School in East Boston tested positive for the viral infection known as mumps. Mumps is an infection within the salivary glands that can cause major swelling to the cheeks and jaw. It can be spread through close contact with an infected person. Complications from mumps can cause diseases like meningitis and encephalitis. With a case of mumps here in East Boston, some residents are calling for a better enforcement system when it comes to vaccinations.
I think that there's got to be something done here. There's got to be some sort of documentation. There's got to be a better enforcement system, or else we're going to end up having more kids and students get sick.
According to policies by the Boston Public Health Commission, every student is required to show proof of vaccination against mumps. However, Otis Elementary School's principal says that a small number of students have provided partial documentation of vaccinations or no documentation at all.
There are ways to get vaccinations for little or no cost that I think that parents should be looking into. But when you're putting other people and other students at risk, that's a problem.
Otis Elementary School officials say that they do not believe that the student came into contact with any student who has not been vaccinated. Sean Cushing, SU News.
Coming up on SU News, a new project to expand commuter rail lines to the South Coast is now full speed ahead.
And a marvelous sight at MIT, students showing their excitement for the newest Avengers movie. Stay with us.
I'm a single mother and I was the main one working, so I never thought that I could go back to school, you know? My sister, my mother, everybody wanted to help me with my kids. I could not have gotten my diploma without my family.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self. And I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
Why is my son having trouble in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with my son over his homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No. He's smart, but his mind wanders.
7 wonders of the world.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Welcome back to SU News. The MBTA is working toward a more efficient boarding process.
Passengers are hearing a new announcement that will make the process easier for all. Elizabeth Hadley is live in the studio.
That's right, Joe. Well, if you take the T, you may have noticed a new announcement has been playing to remove your backpacks when boarding, to let more people on the cars.
Almost 500,000 people take the T each day. And with more and more people having to commute to the city, the MBTA is increasing their announcements. On Twitter Thursday, a poll reached over 4,000 votes for which announcement to play next. The options included don't litter, no smoking, bikes on the T reminders, or let riders exit the train first. People say the announcements are helpful and want them to play them even more.
The poll lasted for 24 hours, and it was announced this morning that let riders exit the train first announcement will be played next. The MBTA hopes these announcements will ease the rush hour commute for riders. For SU News, I'm Elizabeth Hadley.
And the MBTA is taking a big step forward in their hopes to restore commuter rail service between Boston and Southeast Massachusetts. Krista Mers has the latest.
A project to reconstruct and expand commuter rail lines to the South Coast has cleared important hurdles after receiving a federal permit and full state funding.
The project's first phase will extend the Middleborough line to New Bedford and Fall River, bringing 6 new stations and 2 layover facilities into the rail network. Officials also plan to reconstruct almost 30 miles of tracks along the New Bedford Main Line and the Fall River secondary line, and to upgrade the existing Middleborough secondary track.
In theory, it's a great idea. Hopefully it will ease up traffic. I'm not so sure that it will, considering that the other commuter rails don't operate that well as we speak.
Phase 1 would allow for passenger rail service between Boston, Taunton, New Bedford, and Fall River. Start of service is projected to be in late 2023. Krista Mers, SU News.
State officials approving a new bill to allow a non-binary option for gender on birth certificates and driver's licenses. SU News reporter Shinamu Kane has more.
Massachusetts Senate just signed the bill that would allow individuals to mark X as their gender on documents. After failing to get passed once, the bill known as the Gender X Bill has now finally been passed. The bill will now allow non-binary and transgender individuals to change the gender on their license. The change will also be added to state IDs and soon birth certificates and other government documents.
It's great for the LGBT community. I think they should allow whatever they want, really. I don't see how it affects anybody in a negative way.
But some oppose the bill, such as Andrew Beckwith, president of Massachusetts Family Institute, who believes it could lead to false government documents. But many are still on board with the change.
Just allow people to have their rights. Again, like I said, it's not affecting anybody. Nobody's dying over it, so I don't think it's a problem.
The bill has left a positive impact on the transgender community, and many people hope it will influence other states to follow suit. I'm Shinamu Kane, SU News.
Genocide survivors and their supporters gathered for a cause dear to their hearts. Tara Mahosa has more.
The 6th annual Walk Against Genocide took place on Sunday. From the Holocaust to Cambodia to Rwanda, genocide survivors and supporters marched from the New England Holocaust Museum to the Armenian Heritage Site to commemorate the lives lost to genocide around the world. The Massachusetts Coalition to Save Darfur hosts this event every year to bring awareness to genocides of the past as well as those happening today. This walk is a special event for many people present.
So there's something about feeling like you're not alone. There's other people who have gone through the same thing, different cultures, different countries, but you have that sort of uniting factor. So it's been kind of, I wish we didn't have to have something like this because, if there was no genocide, it'd be great.
The Walk Against Genocide happens at the end of April every year to mark the end of Genocide Awareness Month. For SU News, I'm Tara Mahosa.
When we come back, we're taking a look at just how well Avengers Endgame is doing at the box office.
And how some students at MIT are honoring the blockbuster with a marvelous display.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, did you know 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Let's go to the shelterpetproject.org and meet if you are in a shelter near you. Harlow, oh, she's one great listener and loves to hear all your stories. My kind of cat. Cerulo is a sweet, goofy boy who's eager to please. Sounds just like another dog I know. So go to the shelterpetproject.org, search your local shelters and rescues, and go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
Welcome back. Joe, it was a crazy weekend.
That's right, Julia.
Of movies and TV.
Yep, I know. Don't even get me started. We had Avengers, we had Game of Thrones. But yeah, let's get into it. Our reporter Amanda Macalino is here in the studio to give us the details.
That's right, guys. The hit HBO show Game of Thrones broke multiple records during their long-awaited Battle of Winterfell episode, which debuted this past Sunday night. The third episode of the final season, fittingly titled The Long Night, was reported by HBO as the most watched Game of Thrones episode of all time, with 17.4 million viewers tuning into the epic clash. The battle also broke another record. According to Twitter officials, it was the most tweeted about scripted TV episode ever, with nearly 8 million tweets throughout the 82-minute episode. The battle for the Iron Throne will continue next Sunday on HBO. And now Fox announced on Tuesday morning that their television drama Empire was officially renewed for a 6th season. Currently, they have no plans for Jesse Smollett's character to return to the show as for right now. Fox officials said in a statement on Tuesday, at this time there are no plans for the character of Jamal to return to Empire. Producers cut Smollett's final 2 episodes from the current season of the show following his arrest in February, and now we're looking at Smollett's possible final appearance from this past week's episode, which was reportedly the first primetime TV show to feature a wedding with 2 black gay men. Smollett was originally charged for plotting and carrying out a fake hate crime, and he told reporters he was targeted for being a black gay man. Those charges were dropped in March, but the state of Chicago is now suing the actor for more than $130,000 in order to recover the cost of the investigation that took place this past January. And on the big screen, Avengers Endgame is breaking all sorts of box office records after a whopping $1.4 billion opening weekend. The Infinity War sequel had the highest domestic box office opening of all time after raking in $350 million. The film also had the largest nationwide theater release ever this weekend, with over 4,000 theaters streaming the film in order to accommodate the high demand after pre-sale tickets skyrocketed. Avengers Endgame is on track to surpass the movie Avatar, which earned $2.7 billion while in theaters, and become the highest-grossing movie of all time, with a current estimated total of $3 billion. Now, Endgame is setting its sights on securing the biggest domestic second weekend of all time. The record is currently held by Star Wars The Force Awakens with $140 million. Live in the studio, Amanda Macalino, SU News.
Going along with the theme of Avengers Endgame, some students at MIT really got into the spirit, covering the Great Dome with Captain America's shield.
We go now to our reporter Tom Dufton in Cambridge to take a look at this marvelous prank.
Now, something to marvel at here down at MIT, a couple of pranksters have gotten into the spirit of Avengers Endgame in a unique way. With the Avengers suiting up for the final time in the new movie Endgame, some students draped the university's signature dome with a giant cloth version of Captain America's red, white, and blue shield. People who live in the area were pretty impressed with this hack.
I think it's great that the students at MIT are celebrating Avengers Endgame. I love the school spirit with the shield on the roof. Great job.
Their efforts drew a Twitter reaction from Captain America himself. Now, the shield has since been taken down, but Avengers Endgame is sweeping the box office, and you can see it in theaters everywhere. For SU News, I'm Tom Dufton.
That's all we have time for today. And we're saying goodbye on our final newscast for SU News. I'm Julia Donovan.
And I'm Joe Cassell. Have a great day.
Have a great day, guys.